This week, it is more of the same from the red-hot Adam Scott, a winner at the Honda Classic and the WGC Cadillac Championship in consecutive weeks. He lit up the par 5 16th at Bay Hill Club in Lodge today thanks to this stellar second shot. The resulting eagle, part of a smooth round of 67. It was also a strong day for Jason Day, who's missed a lot of action this season, but boy, did he come alive on the back nine to surge to the top of the leaderboard. An eagle at 16 took him to 6 under par, giving him the outright lead. Get the full story right now as Golf Central comes to you from the house that Arnold Palmer built.
Golf Central, brought to you by Titleist.
Welcome to Bay Hill Club and Lodge for our coverage of the 38th Arnold Palmer Invitational presented by MasterCard. We basked in beautiful conditions for the opening round of the 2016 edition. A little cloud cover moved in the sunset hours in the greater Orlando area. Golf Central on site in the place that Arnold built. We are enjoying our perch located between the putting green and the practice tee. A bustling spot. And a lot of activity on this leaderboard today as well. It was an Australian invasion on day one of the API. Adam Scott and Mark Leishman held a share of a lead for the lion's share of the day, but Jason Day emerged late Thursday afternoon, reminding us of the form that propelled him to world #1 late last year. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our lovely perch. Kelly Tillman with PGA Tour winner Brandel Chambly and our insider at golfchannel.com, Rex Hoggart. A lot to cover in this half hour, a very busy one, so let's get right to it and the stellar play of Jason Day. We will pick him up at number 8. Brandel, this for birdie.
Well, after bogey in the second hole, he bounced back beautifully with birdies at 3, 4, 6. And as he is wont to do from time to time, he was filling it up early. He turned after a double bogey at the 9th, though, and 1 under par, and he got one of those back at the 12th, and now with a wedge from the middle of the fairway at the 13th. And you could tell he liked it. He was looking up, he was looking down. That is a great sign, and that was a great shot.
So Day at this point 3 under on his round. Let's move ahead to the 15th. Tricky little par 4.
He got tangled up off of the tee in the right trees, but his ability to scramble has been well documented. And another case in point, the putt there at 15.
And that's a birdie. Day on the 16th, a gettable par 5.
Earlier in the day, Adam Scott had 193 yards in here with the second shot and hit it about, well, that far away. Jason Day had 197 and matched him shot for shot.
The eagle lands. Stay at the 18th. Tough finishing hole.
And what a shot here with the ball above his feet. And you can see he was trying to cut across it and land it in the very first cut with the green sloping away from him. He made a very difficult shot look easy, but he had a lot of work left still for a 66.
Made some good quality putts in round 1, and you are looking at one of them. A round of 66, 6 under par. Afterwards, he talked to Steve Rakowski.
31 on the back nine, part of an opening day, 66 for Jason. How would you describe how this one played out?
Yeah, it was actually pretty solid all day, bar 9, the drive on 9. Yeah, that kind of surprised me a little bit where that came out and how far left that went, and unfortunately the car path went out of bounds. But I mean, once again, I've been in the position before where I've been playing great, and then all of a sudden something happens. You just can't be surprised by it too much. You kind of got to pull yourself back in and try and refocus and get onto the backside, because there were. You're looking at it, the par 5s do, give yourself, if you can get on the par 5s, give yourself a lot of good birdies there. And fortunately for me, I played on 5 under.
As you try to peak for big events coming up in the weeks and months ahead, what does a day like this do for you in terms of knowing you're making the progress you're hoping to see?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of one of those days where I had needed to stay patient with myself, because I felt like I was very confident with my swing, and I started taking a little bit to the lines. I was taking starting to get a little aggressive. But fortunately for me, making sure that I got up and down on 17 and 18 was huge. So, it was one of those ones where I chalked up for patience, because I mean it's easy to double 9 and kind of shoot yourself out of the tournament and be angry with what you did because you were playing so good up until then, and you can kind of get blindsided by your thoughts sometimes. And fortunately, you know, kind of played great in the backside and, you know, finished with 31.
Jason, great start. We'll see you Friday.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Rock solid round of 66. Good to see him back on top of a leaderboard. His lowest career round at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. You know, the rest of the PGA Tour probably gets a little nervous when they see these Australians starting to show peak form right ahead of the Masters, where they seem to be prolific, short of winning all the time. Adam Scott, the only Aussie winner. Nonetheless, that hasn't always been the case, Rex, for Jason Day, who has struggled in Florida.
Well, and he talked about it on Wednesday during his press conference. And if you look at the stats, in 18 starts just during the Florida swing, not counting the players, his best finish was a tie for 17th, and that was last year here at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. And Bruno and I talked about it this morning about why is that. I mean, it seems like he would play well here growing up in Australia on Bermuda grass. But I had a chance to talk with his swing coach and his caddy, Cole Swatton, and he said it's not so much hitting out of the rough, full shots out of the rough, it's the chipping around the green. He said he has a hard time finding the bottom when he's hitting those shots, and they're very delicate shots. He lives up north in Ohio. They don't have this kind of rough. He doesn't have an opportunity to practice very often on it. I will say this, when they showed up, and this is mostly Rye overseeded for this year's event, Cole and Jason were high-fiving each other because they know this is something he's comfortable with.
And I'll just add to that he has a very shallow chipping motion, and probably not the best motion for Bermuda, where you need to be a little bit steeper. Think of some of the great scramblers on Bermuda rough, and typically they've set the club much quicker. Tiger Woods, for example, and used that angle. But, you know, through the years, yes, he hasn't matched up very well in Florida. But if you were watching today, his scrambling was, well, nothing short of extraordinary. It wasn't the rough that he was coming out of on the 12th hole. It was the bunker, and he is nothing but spectacular day in and day out. That was short-sighted. So much acceleration needed there to put all the spin on it that he needed. He used the bounce perfectly and forward to the 14th. This is just a great look at that shallow chipping motion that I was talking about. Narrowly missing the tree for a professional, no big deal there. But you could tell how the club was outside, shallow, wide, and on the way through, he does a great job of using the bounce. But out of Bermuda, sometimes you need to use the leading edge. And speaking of the leading edge, this is just, well, a leader all the way around, under the trees, around the corner. He got tangled up off the tee trying to cut that corner, and this was threading the eye of the needle with a beautiful pitch shot. And then, of course, two great saves at 17 and 18. It's understandable as we take another look at this. Coming in here, ball well back in his stance, trying to hit this as low as he can between the two bunkers and run it out. But you have to spend so much time to stay razor sharp in this game. It'd be understandable if he'd be slightly distracted. You've alluded to the birth of their second child in December of last year. But that aside, his method of pitching the ball has not necessarily matched up well with Florida golf courses. But today, he hit it in the right spots and had all the right shots.
Adam Scott, too, is perfectly buttoned up from the driver all the way down to the putter. His short game has really never been better of late. Adam Scott at 16 today. You saw this at the top of the show. This is just money.
Well, this is a man who's been money and making a lot of money because of par fives. He leads the PGA Tour in par 5 birdie percentage, and he's averaging under 4.4 on the longest holes, that from 197 yards, which he converted for eagle.
That is particularly a haymaker in this golf tournament, dominating the par 5. Scott at 18, tough par 4.
Such great execution here. He's trying to hit a soft cut into this right hole location. And, well, that wouldn't have been more than a foot or so away from right where he was aiming, and about 8 feet from the hole, and a rare look at a short birdie putt on the 18th hole here at Bay Hill.
He does not need to anchor that putter. So good, especially these last few weeks. At the 4th hole, another birdie chance.
Well, this is a par 5. After a beautiful drive, he did miss it to the right. He was short-sided, but hit a beautiful pitch, and yet another 4 on a par 5.
Well, this year marks the first time Scott has won consecutive PGA Tour starts in his career. In fact, he's gone 2-1-1 in his last 3 starts dating back to Riviera. Arguably the best stretch of golf in his professional life. Some would say the Aussie might be peaking too soon for Augusta National, but Scott has a master's plan, as he told us on pregame Thursday afternoon.
Certainly, you know, pacing myself and keeping the confidence there is the important things for the next couple of weeks. Shooting 67s is a good way of doing that for sure, but even if doesn't all fall my way in the next couple of weeks. I just want to make sure my game's still at this really high level so I don't have to do too much going into Augusta. I just want to kind of keep things going naturally. Hopefully it's not over and we're not speaking too soon about what this little run is, but it's certainly a step up, I think, from where anything's been before. I've won some tournaments before and played at a very high level, but to kind of maintain it week in and week out is maybe the next step of or evolution of my game, and hopefully I can keep it going for a bit longer, keep pushing myself and make the most out of it.
Well, that putter has been spectacular. If the putter comes around, can he be stopped?
Well, all the way through the bag, he's spectacular, and he doesn't have to have a great putter to have a great career. But just imagine if he were a great putter. And a matter of fact, just thinking about that led to a humorous comment yesterday from Rory McIlroy, who said, well, he was all in favor of the anchoring ban coming back, because it almost looks like Adam Scott has been unbeatable. If we take a look at when things started turning well or turning around for Adam Scott in Northern Trust, where he finished second all 4 rounds in the 60s, you could see that he went into that week ranked 186th in strokes gained putting. Much, much better than that, obviously. At the Honda Classic, well, nobody was better. And again, not the best in the field in strokes gained putting, but then again, he doesn't need to be. And at the WGC Cadillac, for the first time in his career, he won back-to-back events again with improved putting. And how can you improve on that? Well, he's trending in the right direction. He was just nothing short of spectacular on the greens, and he alluded to the fact after his round that he wasn't particularly sharp T2 green. I'd like to have that sort of struggles from tee to green, because he was brilliant in certain areas, but on the greens he made it look very easy.
And tip of the cap to the people who put these new greens in, because they look marvelous, Rex. This new Tiff Eagle grass, they're rolling beautiful, and Adam Scott capitalizing on that.
And a lot of confidence. I immediately go back to a conversation I had with Adam last year at the President's Cup. He showed up with a different grip. He didn't feel comfortable with it. Anchoring ban was coming. He didn't feel comfortable with it at all. Again, fast forward a couple months till we get to Tiger's tournament, Hero World Challenge. He had reached an epiphany. He had realized that the deadline was coming. He had to commit to something. He had to put the work in. That's what he's done, and that's where he's getting this confidence.